Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin,
And I'm Ralph, I'm the voice behind the camera.
and welcome to Cavalcade of Food.
And our cozy little cottage up north where we are back in full swing.
Full swing for our summer season and loving every minute of it. And we are here and thinking about what to have for dinner. And so today, Ralph, we're going to do an American classic, but with an English reference name. And we're making Salisbury Steak.
All right,
That's
Salisbury
right.
Steak.
You had it, you loved it in the school cafeteria, and we're
right.
gonna try to take it to the next level a little bit.
Yeah,
Okay?
Swanson's Frozen Dinners.
Exactly. There you go. So this actually is can be a really delicious and nice meal to make, served with potatoes and vegetable, and it's really, you think of it, it uses ground beef, okay, and I've got ground sirloin here. You could use whichever ground beef is your favorite. I like this is a little bit leaner, but you know what, it also takes into account it scratches that itch between wanting a hamburger, okay, or making a meatloaf. Now the difference is a hamburger, you make on the grill. A meatloaf is always baked in the oven. This we're going to make on the stovetop. By the way, friends who are always asking if we can do more recipes that you can make in an electric skillet, okay?
Could do
this is one of those recipes, and normally, if I'm to make Salisbury steak, actually, I would pull out my 1958 Sunbeam electric skillet here and use it. But you know what? We're going to use the stove top today because this is our new kitchen stove. For those of you who have seen the previous episode, which was our stove exchange, this is our 1966 Montgomery Ward signature range made by the Tap and Stove Company.
All right, I can tell
Monkey Wards.
You've already got it started?
I do. I have. I'm having this skillet get warm because that's what we're gonna use to cook our Salisbury steak. But you know what? We don't film everything that we make every day up here, so I've been using the stove a lot. I've baked in it. We've cooked on it. I did some canning the other day, and we used it for that. And I have to tell you, the more I use this stove, Ralph, the more I love using this stove.
Oh,
this
good.
is really a great range.
It looks great in the kitchen too.
Now it's our 1966. I actually think this is probably the most modern stove I own. But anyways, we'll spend some more time with the Menu-matic range as the summer goes on.
All right, before that skillet starts burning, let's get to cooking.
To our steak. Okay, so I've got 1.5 pounds of ground beef. Okay, to that, here's what I'm going to add. I'm going to add here 1/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. We're going to take some ground mustard here, and I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of ground mustard. Okay. Then, this is essential to any Salisbury steak recipe.
What's this here sauce?
What's this here sauce? Worcestershire Shire. Okay? We're going to put in a tablespoon of that. This Worcester sauce really is just a whole lot of savory. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's anchovies in here.
Really?
There's all kinds tamarind.
Really?
All kinds of spices.
Maybe I don't want to know what's in there.
Yeah, don't ask.
I've always liked Worcestershire sauce, but I've never really understood what was all in it. But I know it's a British invention, right?
Yes. But with Indian roots.
Influences.
Actually, yeah. And okay, we're gonna hope the lights don't go out on us.
Yeah, we're in the middle of a storm
outside. Now I've got French onion soup. Okay. Now here's we're using this for 2 reasons. One, it's convenient. The other thing too is this is made with beef stock, so this is going to help amp up the beef flavor in the steak itself. Okay, you with me, Ralph?
I'm listening and I'm with you.
And it's also got onions in it.
So this is a step saver.
Well, it is a step saver, but it's also a flavor enhancer. We're not going to use the whole can. And remember, this is a condensed soup, so normally you would dilute it with water. We're going to use about a third of the can here, and we're just going to use it full strength. I'm not going to add any water. And we're going to use the rest of the can in our gravy.
Oh, okay.
Later, okay? So a third of a can of condensed French onion soup. We've got breadcrumbs. I'm using a seasoned breadcrumb. We want to put in about a half a cup. Okay? That'll just kind of help bind the meat together. Then we have 1 egg at room temperature, please. Okay, we're going to put that in there.
Oh, I see the similarity to a meatloaf.
Yes, it is. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to, the best tool I've ever found in the kitchen. We talk
Manhandle
about
it.
this all the time, don't we?
How God invented fingers before forks?
That's right.
That's what my grandpa used to say.
I mean, your grandpa was wise.
And it's something that you taught me is it's really important not to overwork the meat because then you get those really dense, concentrated
and
bites.
compact. And you want it to be light.
Yeah.
It's especially true when making a meatloaf, but even making anything where you're combining a lot of ingredients with ground, any kind of ground
like
meat.
a meatball,
a meatloaf.
Even hamburger. Even like if you're cooking a hamburger, you're putting special spices or additions to it.
Well, the thing that happens too when you keep mixing it and it's really dense, what happens is the juices will run out of the meat because there's no place inside the patty for the juices to go.
Okay.
So that also, I think, it's a looser mix is also a moisture mix as far as I'm concerned. All right, I think that's
sufficient.
Yeah.
Sufficiently mixed.
I'm going to get a couple things off the table here, and then we're going to form these into patties. Got cleaned up. We got our meat mix. Again, this was 1.5 pounds. I'm going to try to get about 6 Salisbury steaks out of this, okay? Now, first I'm just going to sort of divvy up the meat. This is how I do the same way like with other like burgers or whatever, just to make sure that they're all kind of roughly the same. Because wouldn't somebody be upset if they got a smaller Salisbury steak than the other person?
Someone named Ralph.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just placing them on the platter before really putting them in that classic Salisbury steak shape.
Again, I'm kind of going for 6. I can see I'm going to add a little bit to this guy. Okay.
So Salisbury, the guy who invented the Salisbury steak was actually American.
Yeah.
Back in the late 1800s, he was a proponent of a low-carb diet, and his name was J.H. Salisbury. And he came up with this concoction that that became known as the Salisbury steak.
Okay. What do we think? Studio audience. Okay. We've got, in its classic shape is an oval. Okay. So, I don't know who came up with the shape. Maybe Dr. Salisbury did.
We have $1 million idea from our friend Jock, who says that if you could create a Salisbury steak former or patty shaper, probably sell it on QVC or one of the as seen on TV channels.
Because don't we all make Salisbury steak?
Yeah, what's
so
fun?
Often?
These look almost like little mini meatloafs, or those what is it, like Greek, or Middle Eastern kibbeh, or like those.
Well, like I said, they always sort of were. At least when I always had Salisbury steak, they were always kind of oval or football shaped.
But
hopefully they were more appetizing than eating a football.
Were they flat or rounded?
No, they were rounded. They were. It was really like a patty. It was just that sort of the shape. Then, and this is going to not be a big deal. But the other thing, because we say there's steak, I'm going to take a fork here, and I'm going to put a couple of lines in each one. See that, Ralph? See what I'm doing?
So it's going to be giving the illusion of a grill.
Right.
Kind of you're selling the sizzle and the steak.
Exactly. This is almost like, when you make peanut butter cookies and you put the little cross in it with the fork. Okay.
All right. So
we've got that. Now what we're going to do is let me wash my hands. We're going to get them in the pan, and we're going to just get these brown.
So you recommend a cast iron skillet?
I'm using a cast iron skillet because honestly, that's my favorite skillet, and I think it's perfect for this kind of dish. Again, I would use an electric skillet,
or could use,
but okay.
So are you going to try to get a sear on it, or is
yes?
Oh, good.
Okay, we just want to brown. We just want to brown each side.
So nothing in the skillet.
Nothing in the skillet. Okay, I don't have any oil, any fat, anything. Okay, we're gonna just get these on here, and I also thought that they should all fit in this particular pan.
Yeah, it's a good size.
It's gonna be tight.
A little tight,
we'll get it in here. Okay, so we'll come back when they start browning here, and we'll flip them over, get them browned on both sides, and then we're going to take them out. We'll make our gravy. We're only using one pan. That's another nice thing about this. We'll make our gravy in here, put the Salisbury steak back in, and let them finish cooking. Here's our steaks. They're smelling good, aren't they?
They sure are.
We're going to flip them. See, we're just putting a nice crust on them.
I love that.
Look at that. That's just what you want. You just want to put a little, you don't want it too brown, but we just want them to make sure we have a crust.
You don't want it to burn, but you need to seal in that flavor and get a nice sear on it.
So there's that, and then let's get our last one here. There. Now we're going to let the other side brown, and then like I said, we're going to take them. Of course, they're not cooked all the way through, but we're going to take them out, and then we're going to start making our gravy.
So what would you tell folks watching or listening, how long do you leave them in to get one side and then the other?
Well, I've got the burner a little over medium, so the pan is good and hot. That took about 5 minutes.
Okay, a good 5 minutes on each side.
Now, while the other side is browning, here's what I'm going to do. I've got a nice onion here that I'm going to slice thinly. And then we're going to use this in our gravy. So that's beef and onion are the predominant flavors really in this dish.
So that's another thing that distinguishes a Salisbury steak from a meatloaf or a hamburger, is that you have a particular gravy that goes on top.
Yeah, so I'm just going to slice these like that, and then I think I'm going to cut them crosswise just to make them a little easier to manage. And we'll get this ready for our gravy making. Okay, so you know what? I'm actually going to get a little paper plate here, Ralph.
Good thing I did a close-up on the metal. That metal.
Well, we'll end up there. I'm so tired of doing dishes today. All right, I'm going to take these out. Okay, so now, see, we have a nice brown on the other side here. I'm going to take our Salisbury steaks out of the skillet. And now, depending on the type of ground beef you're using, if you look in here, you will see there is really hardly any fat in the pan.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Okay, that's because of I'm using sirloin. If you had a regular hamburger or ground chuck, you would have more fat in there, which you would want to drain off at this point. Okay.
Would you use it for the gravy or not?
No, you don't really need it for the gravy.
That's bad fat.
But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some olive oil in, just maybe a tablespoon or so. Okay, and butter. And I like to always use olive oil and butter because you know what, butter burns at a fairly low temperature, but when it's mixed with the olive oil, it'll hold up a lot.
You get the best of both worlds.
Yes, exactly. So we got a little butter, a little olive oil. We've got our onions.
Don't tell Popeye. Oh, and then you got your onions.
Right.
Okay.
So here's the onions we sliced up, and excuse me while I get a spoon. So what we're gonna do. But you know what? You had those beef crumblies in there. See where the meat stuck to the skillet. So that's nice flavor. You want all that. We're going to put our onions in here.
Them's good eating.
Yes, it is. So basically, we're going to cook these. We want them to just get golden. Okay, we don't want to overcook the onions. We want them soft. We want them slightly golden, and then we're going to put in the rest of our ingredients. Make our gravy. Okay.
That aroma.
Then the steaks will
wonderful.
go back in and finish cooking in the gravy.
Okay, so when you say golden, do you mean like translucent or just?
Yeah, a little beyond translucent. Okay, we want them caramelized. How's that?
Okay.
That's probably the word
Better,
I should use.
Okay, got it.
Because of course we know that always brings out the nice sweetness in the
sugars.
onion.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, we'll be right back. This kitchen sure smells wonderful.
Okay, so I had we had a little technical issue. Here's what I did, everybody. The onions are beautifully browned.
And they were chopped between the long version and the chopped slicer smaller version.
I put in the remainder of I had 2/3 of a can of the French onion. That went in there. Then I filled the can with 2/3 of water.
So equal amounts.
Equal amounts because it's condensed, and put that in there. Okay, that's where we are right now. So I'm bringing this up to a boil. Again, this is making our gravy. We're also scraping down that bottom of the pan to get all those wonderful beefy brown bits. We're going to put in maybe another teaspoon of
the Worcestershire
sauce, and we're going to put in just a little squirt, maybe a tablespoon of tomato ketchup. Okay?
And if you for some reason, maybe you were trying to make this from scratch or at home with what you had on hand and you didn't have French onion soup,
you could use if you had beef broth, you could put that in there. That would work beautifully. Or make a beef bouillon if you had bouillon cubes. Okay, I'm going to put in a couple turns of pepper. Here's what I'm not doing. I'm not adding salt at this moment. Here's why. The French onion soup
super
is
salty.
Very salty. Okay, the Worcestershire sauce, salty. I don't want to over salt. You can see though the gravy is a little on the thin side again because it's basically a broth base.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to thicken it up a little bit. Now, there's a number of ways you can do that. I made a slurry here.
What's a slurry?
A slurry is a teaspoon of cornstarch mixed with maybe a couple tablespoons of cold water. Okay.
Oh, is this to thicken it up?
Yes, I'm gonna put just a couple spoonfuls in here, and we'll see if we can get it to thicken up a little bit. And it always thickens up when it comes to the boiling point. So.
And when you were saying about not adding salt and just adding pepper, I was going to say I could smell the pepper, and I think that goes so well with the beef and the meat and the onions.
Yeah. So I don't know if you can see that. It has thickened up a little bit, but I'm going to put a little bit more of my slurry in. You could use tomato paste as well, but we don't. That would thicken it up. It would add a certain tomatoey kind of acidity to the thing, but we're kind of keeping
it
nice
beefy, and if you wanted to add the tomato paste, it would change the flavor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'll just put the rest of this in.
We're listening to the first album by the Pointer Sisters in the background. We got this for $1 today, and before that it was Steve Allen with Neil Hefti and some lush sounds there. But yeah, this.
Okay, that's beautiful.
This was one of our finds today in Marine City, Michigan.
So we are going to now put back in our steaks.
So it doesn't just go on top; it cooks in.
Because the steaks aren't quite cooked. They're just, remember, we just sort of put a nice sear on each one. And we're going to drop these back in. And we're going to let them cook simmer for maybe another 15 minutes or so.
Wow.
And
that'll really moisten up the meat and give it a good flavor.
Yes. See the little juices that came out? We're going to put that in there too. Okay? I got a cover for this pan somewhere. I'm going to take this down to a low simmer, and we'll let these finish cooking. and we're going to have Salisbury steak.
Yes, we will. Can't wait.
Look at that.
The big reveal.
Our Salisbury steaks. So let me turn our oven off here.
So how long have they been cooking in the gravy? Or
About 20 minutes. And of course you have these, wonderful onions underneath.
So this is a meat that's going to be cooked through and through. There's no such thing as a
medium rare Salisbury steak. No.
But look at those onions and the gravy. That sauce.
Okay.
The broth. It's almost like a French onion meatball.
Okay, so now we're gonna let me get a spoon here. Yeah, here we go. Look at that.
Perfect. And this is traditionally served with like mashed potatoes or
Mashed
pasta.
potatoes, and of course you got your gravy right here. You could serve this on a bed of noodles, would be really nice. Lots of different ways that you can take this, but oh yeah, you want those wonderful onions. So here we go.
The doctor who invented this was, I think, working towards during the Civil War, and was trying to figure out a way to create a diet that would be low carb, but healthy,
high
protein, and I think that's how he came up with this Salisbury steak. Dr. Salisbury, thank you.
So here it is. We're going to enjoy this for dinner tonight. We've got a few sides in the works here.
In the hopper?
Yep. And we're going to put it together. But here's a nice way. And again, always looking for ways to use ground beef in sort of creative and different ways. When was the last time you had Salisbury steak?
Probably, like I said, either like in a cafeteria at school or in a Swanson frozen dinner. But our friends watching always love to get the taste test. So let's have Kevin take a little bite and see what he thinks.
That's nice. The onion, the
beefiness.
The Worcestershire sauce, just in the background. That's lovely.
That's a meaty dish.
That is a meaty dish.
I think this is fun because you could make it in different ways. Maybe add mushrooms, put it on serve it almost like a hamburger or a mini meatloaf. Put cheese or add things, and like you said, put it over a bed of noodles.
That's good.
But boy, that looks delicious. Can't wait to dig in. And
so you know what?
We want to thank the Pointer Sisters for providing some screechy background. Hope it wasn't too crazy. Let's see, what else did we play tonight? We also had the Mills Brothers. I don't know if that got in. Henry Mancini. And this is what we're listening to now is Steve Allen and his piano with Neil Hefti and his orchestra.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Ralph, for taking care of the music, and thank you all for being a part of this one. We had a great time putting together our Salisbury steak. Hope you had fun being with us. We'll see you next time, right here at the cottage
on Cavalcade of Food.
Bye, everybody.